If you want to be good, you gotta be a tier whore. So in one of my past vlogs, I talked about why tier lists really turn away people, but I haven't really talked about why tier lists even exist and why they get propagated so much. The better players get at the game, the more they're going to figure out the strongest things that you can do in the game, and that's going to kind of dictate a metagame of where everybody knows that these strategies that everyone's using are the most optimal. That data is going to show for other people to see, and then they're going to utilize that. And of course there's always going to be people that do something different that can kind of change the way that people look at the metagame, or evolve the meta. But basically anybody that wants to play at a higher level eventually is going to have to kind of conform to what the other players that are better than them are doing, because if you're just handicapping yourself if you're trying to play something that is straight up worse than everything else. And sometimes that can be fun, but if you're frustrated and you're just losing all the time, you could always just use that strategy. I mean, unless the game is just like so bad, because that game is just horribly balanced. But in some games, you kind of need to look at what people are doing that are beating you and take that strategy and adapt it in your own gameplay. Now that doesn't mean you have to go look up tier lists and do all this research, but just give your opponent the benefit of the doubt that when they beat you, it was because of something they did and not necessarily because of luck, unless you just hate the game in general. But sometimes you can hate the game because you don't understand the mechanics of the game, because you're refusing to adapt and accept that your opponents are using something that you're not using, and that's why they beat you. Sometimes you're just so mad that you're not really willing to understand your opponent. So people use tier lists a lot to kind of just, gauge what they feel is easier to be good with in the game and stuff like that, and that's why they kind of exist. Sometimes there's other meta strategies that are the best way to play the game or at a higher competitive level, and sometimes people just don't want to conform. They just would rather do their own thing, and sometimes that's fun for them, and sometimes they lose and they get really frustrated. And if you're trying to do your own thing and you're just getting frustrated that it's not working, either just quit the game or just start adapting things into your strategy. You don't have to be 100% original. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. And that's the whole idea with meta games and tier lists, is that these things have already been figured out. And if you're not able to figure out new ways of succeeding, then don't let yourself get frustrated by it. Use the information that's already out there. Maybe try recording your gameplay and look it over, watch what the opponent was doing. If you think that just keep spamming, well, how do you stop spam? Figure that out. Maybe they're not actually spamming, maybe they're just using a move that keeps hitting you because you don't know how to avoid it. So then figure out how to avoid that attack. It's just one step at a time. And if you can't figure it out, typically that information is out there. It's all part of the metagame that exists for the game that you're playing. You don't have to be the one to research it. And if you want to play a game where everybody is exactly the same and nobody has anything that nobody else has, well then, I guess you could play a racing game or something. Anyway, like I said, feel free to use your own made-up strategies in a game, but don't be surprised that they don't work. Just learn from the failures. And that's all I got. So be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.